So welcome everybody to the Sweet Spot Global Leadership Summit, where we are talking all week about how visionary organizations and their leaders can thrive from the inside out. And I'm super excited to bring the wonderful Marybeth Murdock here today. Welcome, Marybeth. So glad to have you.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, so I met Marybeth through we were being coached by the same person, same business coach. I think it was about last year sometime. And I realized that Marybeth is an expert in mindfulness. And if you've been around the Exhale and Thrive community for a while, you know that that's a hot topic for me as well. So I was super excited to bring you, Marybeth, into this event to talk to us about mindfulness. And I know you're going to talk about specifically the disconnected parent topic, but I wanted to share that I feel like a disconnected parent makes a disconnected leader and vice versa. And so I really feel that this is a key piece also because many leaders are also parents. So this is something that helps us with our own personal well-being that also obviously has a follow-on effect in how we can be present in the workplace. So I'm super excited to hear about your topic today.
Thank you. Thank you for that warm welcome. And before we get started, we'll actually introduce it, the disconnected parent. It's a three-phase approach to mindfully parenting so that you can have more peace, joy, and calm in your life.
That sounds great. Maybe I could introduce you before we jump all the way in. Sorry, I skipped that part. So Marybeth, sure. Yes, sure, thanks. So Marybeth is actually, she's a mindfulness coach, and as you could tell, and we were going to talk about that, and that she likes to help work with busy working parents who are tired of feeling overwhelmed and stressed out so that they can create more peace and calm in their day, which obviously just sounds amazing. And she teaches the basics of mindfulness so you can get that strong, sturdy foundation. And I'm surprised over the years, Marybeth, how many leaders and executives I've found had never had that moment of calm in their life before. So this is crucial. So parenting has been a challenge, Marybeth says in your bio here, and that you really had to reconstruct all of your techniques and strategies to support yourself in your new parenting role, your life, and the new you. So reconnecting both with who you were as a person, not just as a parent. So I'm super excited to hear, as a new parent myself, my daughter's turning 2 next month. So I'm super excited to hear all of your tips. So now I'll hand it over to you. Take it away there, Marybeth. Thanks.
Thank you. Yes. And if you felt called to this topic and you're here with us today, I want to invite you to explore this statement and see if it resonates for you. You're not necessarily disconnected from your child or children. You're disconnected from yourself. Mm-hmm. Just gonna let that resonate for a second. So if that rings true for you, awesome. You're in the right place. I already mentioned, if you're a working parent, you're tired of being tired, you're tired of being overwhelmed, you're stressed out, and you know that there's a better way to do it all. Life, parenting, leadership. There's so much easier way to go about it. So just to go a little deeper into who I am, I started this journey in my early 20s when I landed a good job. I use the quotations because on paper, it ticked all the boxes. It was Monday to Friday, RSP contributions, pension, benefits, all these great things. And yet I was still sitting there going, is this it? Is this what I signed up for? Is this what I anxiously waited to grow up and be? Was this? Is this grown-uphood? So I started this journey to learn how to be happier. And that's when I stumbled upon mindfulness. So fast forward a bit, 10 years experience studying, practicing, developing techniques and habits that were really working. And I transformed myself from being depressed and anxious, and if we're being honest, a really hateful person, into a life that I loved. And then I had a child, which just, don't get me wrong, it was the best blessing of my life, but it completely unraveled me. There was no guidebook for how to do parenting in that same mindful, confident place. So when I went back to work after maternity leave, that was the hardest transition for me as a parent. It was that push-pull dynamic of When I'm at work, feeling guilty that I'm away from my child. When I'm at home with my child, I'm feeling guilty that I didn't get something done at work. So it was
Mm.
really that dynamic that I said, all right, I need to reconnect with who I am. I've taken this new phase in my life. It's more than just me now, right? I have a child to think of. I'm trying to juggle a career on top of that. So I had to reconstruct all the techniques to support this new phase. And, you know, before I had a child, I had hours to read at my leisure and journal and
Mhm.
meditated when I wanted. That was all out the window.
Yeah,
I'm sure
that's
you've
totally
experienced this
resonates.
too.
It does, absolutely, because even while I was, pre the arrival of my daughter, I would sometimes journal and meditate for a couple hours on the weekends because if nothing else going on, get up early and it was lovely. Whereas now, if for me to do that, I get up like this morning, I got up before 5 o'clock, so I had some time, which was great. But I'd love to hear how you were able to bring those kind of practices into sort of that parenting lifestyle and schedule and how that all works out.
I keeping this in mind, like I'm all about ease, the quick wins, the
Mhm.
1% gains, because sometimes we only have like this short little window of time.
Right. Like a 5 minute window is is a big deal now. Yeah.
Yes,
Hmm.
it's a glorious time when you have that break.
Hmm.
And I'm very, very passionate about that little time because I know that it will naturally grow into a strong and sturdy foundation that will seamlessly fit into your life because it's customized for
Mm.
you.
Love
You're not
it.
trying to, schedule out when am I going to meditate. It's all there. It's always.
Okay, well, I have to hear
Um,
more. That sounds
yes.
great.
So because I know how life goes, I'm going to just pause for 1 second before we dive into the content. Because if
Mm.
anybody has to, you get a phone call in the middle of this conversation, you need to jump off, I want to make sure you walk away with something really tangible. So I'm going to share the strategy that I've converted and started using right here, right now, so that if you do have to hop off, you at least have something.
Great.
So we've all heard of the strategy to make sure that your cup is filled up, right? You can't give to
Mhm.
others if you're running on empty. Make sure you're filled up before you pour into others. It really builds off that. I've started looking at those in my life as measuring cups. When I walk into in my house and I see
Ah.
I shouldn't even say house, work environment, at home, everybody turns into a measuring cup, and I'm going to measure their water level. I don't have a fancy name for it. I just call it measuring the level.
Mhm.
Um, it's really taking stock of how is that person doing right here, right now? Are they running on empty or are they filled up? Like, where are they on that scale? Obviously, we're not mind readers, but we get really good at knowing those people in our life at what level they're at, right? And then I've noticed that when I do this, I'm able to take that step back and not take things so personally. So
Mm.
if my
Love it. So you're
partner
assessing
walks
it. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, do the
Hmm.
assessment, right? Because if my
Mhm.
partner walks in at the end of the day and I see he's running on a low level and then makes a snarky comment, I give him that grace. I know it has nothing to do about me. It's just been a hard day.
Mhm.
So that is my first tip. Don't worry if you're able to stick through it all, there'll be more, but let's get into why everybody's here.
Oh, I love that tip though, that measuring people's cups. That's a great idea.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And it
Thank you for
builds,
sharing
everybody
that.
hears, like, make sure your cup's filled up. That's true. What about
Mhm.
the other people that you're engaging with? Because we can do
Yes.
everything for ourselves and still run into those difficult people that are going to push our buttons, right? Or it's our
Mhm.
own children.
Right. Well, and what I hear then from that is if our cup is full, we can perhaps help them if their cup needs a little bit. And then when we're maybe having a harder day, then they'll be able to support in return. Right. So I think that awareness piece is really huge. And what a
Yeah.
great image make it memorable. It's a great concept.
So I've discovered too that there's, in my opinion, three critical mindsets that you want to show up to when you're, you know, reconnecting with yourself, but also being that parent and leader that is engaged and they're there. And when I say there, I mean like there to support, there to push agendas forward, there for life, right? We're showing up. So the first one is radical responsibility.
Mm.
Radical responsibility for your happiness. Every day we're going to encounter these people that at first glance, like, we have nothing to do with them, right? We're only responsible for ourselves. But if you can muster enough courage to look at situations again, sometimes in the moment or afterwards, depending on how strong the mindset is right now, you might be surprised to see where you could have said or done something differently for a different outcome.
Mm-hmm.
Or in my case, not said or done something for a different outcome.
Absolutely.
And to me, that's radical responsibility, the power to look at any given situation and assess where you could have stepped up.
Absolutely. I think that that's the empowerment piece, is really recognizing, as much as everybody else has their own cups and they're responsible for their own, how we influence people, how we choose to react or not react, really makes a difference on all of that, for sure.
The second mindset piece is a play on words. I call it beginner's belief. And the first part, beginner, is that reminder that we're all learning. We're all doing the best that we can. And we're all students first before we become, right? Before we become the leader, the parent. We're still all learning and doing the best that we can. And then the belief part is to believe that life can look much different than it is now. It's very easy to just assume that this is how life is always going to be. But anybody with children knows that's not true, right? They keep getting older. There's new stages, new ages, new growth. So it's just remembering that life can be different. It can be whatever you're desiring it to be. If you want to have that calm parenting strategy, you want to have the calm leadership strategy, it's possible. So it's really anchoring in, like, you have everything to gain by going all in this. And then the third mindset that I think is so important, especially in this environment, is a kind and gentle practice.
Lovely.
Learning new things, right? How is it realistic to expect ourselves to make that shift, to be mindful when we're being triggered, right? We might not get it the first or second or 30th time. We need the practice. We need to be gentle and kind to ourselves first. And I believe that when we model that when we do that for ourselves, we also model it for our children and for our employees. Everybody that looks up to us will see us behaving in this way. All right, that's the three mindsets. Now that we're on the same page, I promise now we're going to dive in to the 3-phase approach. And I've developed an acronym for it, so it's really easy to understand. And the acronym is NOW, N-O-W. People always ask me, like, why now? And then I kind of laugh because they've asked the question, why now, right? Because all we have is now. The past is gone, right? We can't change it. The future isn't here yet. It's probably going to be very different than we imagine it today. So all we have is the now. So another play on words to remember. That's the big thing. If you leave with anything today, it's that the here and now is the most important part. You can make the changes in the now. So now, what does it stand for? Notice, observe, and welcome.
Lovely. Okay.
Right? For notice, building your awareness muscles. So it's just that step one, it's just to take stock of how is your day, right here, right now. What are you feeling? What's going on? And we're not going to judge ourselves if we find a unpleasant emotion or mood that we're in. It's fine. Can't change anything you're not aware of, right? So the awareness becomes that first foundational, almost cornerstone piece. And the easiest way that I have found to get people engaged in the here and now is to breathe. It's that simple. Right? I know every time I say that, I'm like, breathe.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. Well, and I think I know for myself when I'm not breathing, like I was just holding my breath right now, being so attentive. So, but it can happen when we're stressed and all of that. So just breathing helps us bring us into the present moment.
You
Mhm.
know, I get a giggle when people are like, oh, that's so basic. Well, yes, it is basic. I teach the basics. We go back to the basics, and
Mhm.
breathing is one of those. And there's research out there that shows in 90 seconds, taking those deep breaths can change your mood, can make you
Mm.
more relaxed. It can bring you back to the here and now. You're out of your mind and back into the moment.
Yes, we all need that all day, all day, every day.
Yes.
So it's so important. And what I love about the breath aspect is you can take it with you everywhere. You don't need an app, you don't need a tool, you don't need to be a certain place. It can be that simple.
When I started this work, like I had a lot of notebooks and make sure you got a pen with you. And I was like, wait a minute, parents are juggling their stuff, kids' stuff, work stuff, everybody else's stuff. They're not going to remember to bring these extra things. So, how can we use what we have with us already?
Mhm.
We're always breathing.
Right. Or should be.
If you're not, please let
Yeah.
us know. Okay, so that's N, noticing. So, build your awareness muscle. O is to observe yourself deeper and surrender into it. So it builds on that notice piece, but instead of just noticing, we want to dive a little bit deeper. Why am I feeling this way? If you
Mm.
notice, I'm very stressed out. Well, what is it? Why are these feelings coming up for me? What could be triggering me in this moment? And we're really going to sit with our feelings. I know myself personally, I like to sort of push them away. Anytime something unpleasant is coming up, I have that reaction to just go, I don't want to touch it. Not here, not right now. I'll deal with it later. I always forget, or I fall into bed exhausted, or something else comes up, right? So if you can sit, just train yourself, even when it's uncomfortable, to sit in those moments, feelings, and see what's coming up. And I'd really, really invite you to tune in with your expectations. To me, I've noticed that I'll use the example where this sort of flipped the light switch for me. I have this battle in the evening with my daughter. Please go get your pajamas on. Please go get your pajamas on. And she'll be, she doesn't want to stop playing with her toy. She wants to do something else. She wants to push buttons and boundaries. I realized that I'm not actually upset that she doesn't drop what she's doing and go put her pajamas on. I'm upset that I had the expectation that she would listen to what I said and go do it. Had nothing to do with her. I wasn't mad at her, but I had
Mhm.
set this expectation up for her that she had no idea about. So it was the expectation piece that was causing my suffering.
Right. That's a really great example because it's sort of an expectation that you would say something once and that's behavior would immediately react to that. So yeah, that's really great. And bringing it back to again ourselves and what we're expecting or desiring and recognizing that versus putting the blame, I guess,
Mm-hmm.
on somebody else.
Yeah, and we see this a lot in the workplace, right? Like as leaders, we expect our employees to always be doing their job, always be doing the work that they need to be working on. But sometimes we have these expectations that aren't communicated, that we haven't
Yes.
shared with
Right.
anybody. And just like our kids, our employees aren't mind readers. So it's being very clear, did I communicate that? Do I have this expectation that nobody knows about? Like just tuning into what's going on. And then the last piece, W, is for welcoming in acceptance. And this piece is my favorite because it's the easiest. And as a parent and as a leader, there's enough hard parts of our life. We need that easy win, right? Acceptance is relaxing. You're
Mm.
meeting the moment as it is. You've let go of that expectation of how it should be, and you're just here for how it is.
And that's where that peace comes in, I think, right? Is you just instead of trying to fight it and shape it into something else. Mhm.
Oh, I love that, Sarah. Try to shape it into something. It's something else. Yeah. It's really just being present and showing up for how it is and going with it.
Mm.
And then the final strategy that I want to provide, because we're so busy and time, I'm sure if we looked at anybody's calendar right now, it's going to be back-to-back meetings, probably very little desk time. I won't even get in the topic of sleep for
Mm.
executives at this time, but the last thing I'm going to tell you is to sleep more, because I'm sure everybody is chronically undersleeping. So my advice is to practice in the pauses.
Mm.
All day long, we're jumping from one thing to another. But if you can notice when you're about to switch from breakfast time to let's carpool to work, or log on, go upstairs, log on from work, you work from home, if you can take that little chunk of pause just to reground in the here and now, tap into how you're feeling, and be open to what's going on now, you've practiced mindfulness. You're back
Mm.
in the moment.
Oh, I love that, because my understanding of mindfulness and meditation practice is so that we can bring it into our day to day. So to be able to integrate it into our movements through the day, that sounds amazing. So you can show up to the next thing present, aware, grounded again.
And you're ready. And then, yeah,
Mm,
the
love
more,
it.
right, just like I said at the beginning, the more that you practice this, it's going to naturally grow. Your muscles will get bigger. The length of time you can stay in the present moment will naturally grow. And by the end of it, you're going to realize I have a mindfulness practice that works with my life. I don't have to set
Mm.
aside the time or organize childcare so that I can get some me time. I'm doing it all day long.
Love it. And that's so what I need right now. And I'm sure everyone else could benefit it too from it too, right? That I think that it can be easy to just rush into the next thing. So having that time to focus. And I also recognize that we are on a bit of a time window here. So maybe as we wrap this up, Marybeth, how can people find out more about you?
Yeah, if you've enjoyed this and you want to go more, please head over. There's a workbook that will help you dive deeper into this framework. So head over to mbmurdock.com/disconnected parents. And there'll be a PDF there you can download and jump into this so that you can start creating your own practice that works for you and your
That
family.
sounds lovely. And Marybeth, I really appreciate you sharing this and making it so easy and approachable. So I'm sure everyone's going to love that. And to dive deeper into this Disconnected Parent Deep Dive workbook, I'll link it all below so people can check it out. Thank you so much for being here. This has been
Thank
awesome.
you.